This is Savvy reSound, podcasting with purpose, hosted by Jamila Bay and Patricia Lambert. Produced by Red Shoe Savvy.
Well, hello, friends, one and all. I'm Jamila Bay, and I'm joined by the illustrious, the wonderful, the lovely, and the oh-so-savvy Patricia Lambert. We are here with the Savvy reSound webcast, and it's an honor and a delight to be with you. Hi, Patricia.
Hey, Jamila, how are you today?
I am fantastic. It's a lovely day. Finally, in Washington, we have a bit of weather that doesn't make you want to sleep or stay in and never go out again. So that we see the sun peeking out and we see the birds flying and staying out of the trees. So it's nice.
Last time in our podcast with Donna Jones from Insight to Action, we were talking about intuitive decision making. And in the interim, that has sparked some thoughts that I have. We talk about equality, women's equality with men. And I know that both men and women use intuitive decision making, or that they are making decisions intuitively, as Donna said. One of the things I think that we are not doing the same, and that causes me pause when we're talking about gender equality and that kind of thing, is that I think our focus as women is, by and large, although not universally, on a different plane than the focus that the men are pursuing. And while I want opportunities for women equally, I have for 40 years been interested in and served the cause of equality for women. I think it's more, I want women to have the opportunity to be making the decisions and the choices that are going to serve them in their lives and going to serve their community in their lives.
Absolutely. In so many areas of my life, I am the contrary, and I am the one who says, but on the other hand, and I'm so aligned with what you're saying right now because, frankly, when we get down to the nitty-gritty of it, um, it's about offering more choice to more people. For whatever reasons, and there are many, women, even those of us who have been told that we can have it all, or all we've got to do is balance a little better and then it will all be ours to enjoy, we are making decisions on a profoundly different level than many men. Now, again, the disclaimer, many, not all. We will always find the exception that proves the rule. We will always find the exception. But when I look at the way women choose their workplaces and their working hours and places they're allowed to have flexible schedules or whatnot, women are deciding for families. Women are deciding in greater numbers, how do I care for my children? How do I care for my parents? How do I make sure that my husband or my partner will be able to be supported best with when I can be here? And they're making decisions in that way. Men do too, but right now we're focusing on women because that's what this webcast is designed to do. The idea that men go into the workplace and they think about themselves, they think about their careers, they think about career advancement, and their families are there to support them. That's largely true because the people in their families, the women in their families, are often there to say, okay, well, you go and earn that bacon, you go and slay those mammoths, I will tend to the children, I will make nice with the neighbors so that our community welcomes us, I will do the community obligations, be it church or synagogue or temple, and I will make sure that our children have a community outside of just you and I. And it's the women who are making those things happen. If you doubt me, show up at a PTA meeting and check in with the soccer parents, and see who's actually doing the social intercourse, who's actually laying down the laying down the rules and regulations so that, things are fair, and it's not just, my little guy is, my little guy is advancing and so am I. Women understand society because it's always been our role to do so.
Are we as women making decisions based on what society has is expecting of us, or what we've grown up to believe society is expecting of us? Or are we making choices based on our free will, our desire for community? Those two things kind of seem to be weighing equally in how I'm seeing women function right now.
I think that women, very much so, endure much more social pressure than do men. If I look at myself, and my peer group of women who, a lot of us have our first or second children by now. Um, Most of us have been out of college for near a score, if not more. We're still getting those messages from our mothers about, well, you should be taking your, isn't it about time that you think about bar mitzvah class?
That's a choice too. My mother would be laughing if she heard this conversation, or when she hears this conversation, because 40 years ago she did the you should be, you could be, I expect you to be. And 40 years ago I said, not me, not going to work. And so there again it becomes a choice. Women have choices. And my question then is, are we acting based on our choices, on our understanding of our values and ourselves and our communities and the things that we would like to see, not only for our lives, but for the lives of the people around us? Or are we rotely moving according to the expectations and demands of other people, whether they be male or female, whether they be older or younger? And there are an awful lot of younger people who keep telling me that I should be acting differently than I am as well. So, where do we actually stand? Do we stand as automatons with really no mind functioning? No intuition functioning either, by the way? Or do we stand as women who have voices, who can make changes, who choose to be taking certain actions?
I think there are as many answers to that question as there are women to answer that question. And you know, part of, I think, the reason why there is such internal turmoil and struggle around this issue is that whether or not one chooses to say, as you did, I knew I loved you, as I did to my mom, well, mom, you can expect that. That's your right to expect it. And it's my right to say, I have no interest in meeting your expectation. Now, I don't say that to be hurtful, but I'm just not going to do these things that I find to be obligations that are just too tremendous, too tremendous, and I don't like them. However, you know, let's be honest, we are North American women. We are Western women. We are educated women. We are women who were not married off when we were too young to really know our own minds well enough to consent. We are not women who come from cultures where we're told, all right, you can choose to not do what your mother says, but you'll lose contact with all of your siblings, and we will shun you. So there is freedom that we have in that struggle that many of us face about where to place ourselves versus where to place our culture, our family, our society. And speaking as a Western woman who's considered to be of average, or average intelligence and ability, considered to be someone who is capable of making such choices. um I really, I don't know that men are having this conversation where they go, my brothers who can't choose. You know, my brothers who have to marry the woman their parents tell them and have to, you know, accept the mantle of this is the family business. And I would much rather be a ventriloquist, but I'm going to be a grocer because that's the only choice I have. Um, Women are having these conversations. Women are thinking in this way because women are acting in this way. Each of us knows a woman who longs to have only had the chance to, but she was told or she believed or she chose herself that, well, family comes first, or these obligations come first. And my reason to be, I figured it out this week. I think my reason to be is to challenge more people. If you are a person, I'm talking to you. And I wish that we would challenge our most deeply held beliefs, whatever they are.
I received an e-newsletter from a gentleman by the name of Robert Fritz, who I respect and follow and have done so for about 20 years. Robert Fritz talks about structure and how structure controls what we're doing. So when we're talking about, yes, you and I are Western women and we have certain choices or certain opportunities and certain constraints as a result of being Western women. And there are women in lots of places in the world who have different choices, different constraints, different opportunities. One of the things Robert said this week in his article, and I totally recommend that people read Robert Fritz's work. There is so much in them that is relevant to what we do. What he said was, yes, we have choices, but we have choices because of the structure that we are inside of. So you and I, Jamila, inside of our fairly comfortable Western environments, have choices that we're making as a result of sitting in there. And then when you talk about recognizing our deepest beliefs, let's also recognize the structure that we live inside of. And to understand whether that structure is serving us, whether we have any options to create structure that serves us better, or whether that structure is the only one we can have. As you mentioned, there are women in lots of places in the world that are living in a society that have beliefs and laws in place that constrain who they are, what they do, what choices that they have. Recognizing first that the structure is there, recognizing also that the next piece is that we have these beliefs going on, and that beliefs are just that. They aren't based in fact, they're based in what we see, what we've experienced, what other people are telling us. They're not facts. And if we recognize the structure that we're in, if we then recognize where our belief systems lie, then is the point where we truly start having choices?
That is the best question I think I've ever been asked. I love to point out to other people, not in an "I told you so" kind of way, but you know, you could be acting of choice more than you are. Or do you have to, or do you get to, or do you choose to? Because there are different ways of being in those different statements. I have to, you're a victim, you're being put upon. You know, I get to, you're excited, you're honoring the possibility there. And I choose to is that you are in control. You are making an action because you have decided to. And being the decider, well, we had a president who was the decider, but you know, being one who decides is usually a very good thing.
If each one of us, as you say, you're challenging people, if each one of us chose every day, instead of responding in a rote fashion, just automatically to a situation in front of us, chose to stand back for a very small piece of time and say, is this what I choose to do? Do I have an option here? what could we do? What could we do as women? Who could we be? How would we feel as women? I think that that's something to consider, and perhaps something for all of us to think about every single day as we're moving forward. Thank you for watching this episode of Savvy reSound. We would love to hear from you, your ideas, your questions, your thoughts. You can reach us at info@redshoesavvy.com. Until next time, belong to the conversation, and you will belong in business.